Mike Tyson. Lessons from triumph, defeat, and redemption. Opening. Life is a fight, not always in the ring, but in the choices we make, the struggles we face, and the resilience we show. Few lives illustrate this truth more vividly than Mike Tyson's. From the streets of Brooklyn to becoming the youngest heavyweight champion in history, Tyson's journey is filled with triumphs, mistakes, and redemption. His story is not just about boxing. It's about the lessons we can all carry into our own lives. Imagine a young boy, small for his age, bullied and fearful, living in one of the toughest neighborhoods in America. Now imagine that same boy, just a few years later, standing in the center of a ring, the eyes of the world upon him, as he becomes the most feared man on the planet. This transformation wasn't just about physical strength. It was about a psychological shift, a discovery of purpose, and a relentless pursuit of excellence. But Tyson's story doesn't end with the championship belt. It continues through the dark valleys of personal failure, public disgrace, and the long, slow climb back to a different kind of victory, the victory over oneself. Today, we dive deep into the life of Iron Mike, not to celebrate the violence of the ring, but to understand the human spirit's capacity for change. We will explore the highs that seemed unreachable and the lows that seemed inescapable. Through his eyes, we learn about the nature of fear, the burden of success, and the power of second chances. This is a journey of reflection, a meditation on what it means to be human in a world that often demands we be superhuman. Early life and struggles. Mike Tyson grew up in poverty, surrounded by crime and hardship in Brownsville, Brooklyn. By the age of 13, he had been arrested multiple times. He was a child lost in a system that often forgets those at the bottom. Yet, in the chaos of his environment, he discovered boxing, a discipline that gave him focus, purpose, and a way out. It was Cus D'Amato, a legendary trainer and a father figure, who saw something in Mike that Mike hadn't yet seen in himself. Cus didn't just teach him how to punch. He taught him how to master his mind. In those early years, Mike was a scared kid. He has often spoken about how fear was his constant companion. But under Cus's guidance, he learned that fear is like fire. It can either cook your food or burn your house down. He learned to harness that fear, to use it as fuel for his training and his performance. This period of his life was defined by an almost monastic devotion to the craft. While other kids were on the streets, Mike was in the gym, studying the greats of the past, perfecting the peekaboo style, and building a psychological armor that would eventually make him appear invincible. Lesson number 1. Even in the darkest places, opportunity can be found. Tyson's early life reminds us that our beginnings do not define our endings. It teaches us that mentorship and a sense of purpose can rewrite a person's destiny. When we feel trapped by our circumstances, we must look for that one spark, that one discipline that can lead us out. For Mike, it was boxing. For you, it might be art, business, or service. The key is to find the arena where your struggles can be transformed into strength. We often think of our past as a weight that holds us back, but Tyson's story suggests it can also be the forge that tempers our character. The hardships he faced in Brownsville gave him a hunger that those born into comfort could never understand. Rise to fame. At just 20 years old, Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history by defeating Trevor Berbick. His speed, power, and ferocity shocked the world. He was unstoppable, a symbol of raw determination. The Iron Mike era had begun. He wasn't just winning fights, he was ending them before they even started, often with a single devastating blow. The world was captivated by his intensity and his seemingly supernatural ability to dominate his opponents. During this rise, Tyson's life was a whirlwind of discipline. He woke up at 4 a.m. to run, spent hours in the gym, and lived a life completely centered around his goal. He was a student of the game, watching old films of Jack Dempsey and Rocky Marciano, absorbing their techniques and their mindsets. This wasn't just talent. It was an obsession. He became a global icon, a man whose name was synonymous with power. He had everything he had ever dreamed of: fame, wealth, and the respect of the world. Lesson number 2. Discipline and focus can turn potential into greatness. Tyson's rise shows us that when we dedicate ourselves fully, we can achieve what others think is impossible. It reminds us that greatness is not a gift, but a result of relentless work. However, this phase also carries a warning. When we are at the top, it is easy to forget the discipline that got us there. Success can be a blinding light. Mike's rise was built on the foundation laid by Cus D'Amato, but as he reached the pinnacle, that foundation began to crack. We must remember that the same focus required to reach the top is required to stay there. True greatness is not just about the arrival. It's about the consistency of the journey. It's about maintaining the beginner's mind, even when you are the master. The fall, mistakes, and consequences. But Tyson's story is not only about victory. Fame, wealth, and power brought temptations that the young champion was not prepared to handle. After the death of Cus D'Amato, Mike lost his moral compass and his emotional anchor. He faced scandals, a high-profile divorce, and eventually prison time. The world watched as the champion fell from grace. He lost his titles, his fortune, and his reputation. The man who once seemed invincible was now a cautionary tale. The fall was public and painful. He struggled with substance abuse, anger, and the crushing weight of his own expectations. The very ferocity that made him a champion in the ring became a liability outside of it. He was surrounded by people who wanted a piece of his success but didn't care about his well-being. This period of his life was a descent into a personal hell, where the ghosts of his past and the mistakes of his present collided. He went from being the most feared man in the world to being a man who feared himself. Lesson number 3. Success without wisdom can lead to destruction. Tyson teaches us that talent alone is not enough. We must also cultivate humility, discipline, and self-control. It's a reminder that our character must be stronger than our circumstances. When we achieve our goals, we must be careful not to lose our souls in the process. The punch in the mouth that Mike often speaks of isn't always from an opponent. Sometimes, it's from life itself, reminding us of our mortality and our mistakes. This phase of his life serves as a powerful lesson in accountability. We are responsible for the choices we make, even when we are under immense pressure. The consequences of our actions are real, and no amount of fame can shield us from them. Redemption and reflection. In later years, Tyson found a new path. He admitted his mistakes, sought peace, and rebuilt his life. This wasn't a quick fix. It was a long, arduous process of self-reflection and change. He became a speaker, an actor, and even returned to the ring for exhibition matches. Not as the unstoppable champion, but as a man who had learned from pain. He started a podcast, wrote a memoir, and began to share his story with a vulnerability that was as shocking as his power used to be. He spoke openly about his struggles with mental health, his regrets, and his journey toward sobriety. He found joy in his family and in simple things. The man who once lived for the knockout now lived for the connection. He transformed his image from a monster to a philosopher, someone who had seen the best and worst of life and had come out the other side with a profound sense of gratitude. He learned to forgive himself, which is often the hardest fight of all. Lesson number 4. Redemption is always possible. No matter how far we fall, we can rise again if we are willing to change. Tyson's later years show us that our mistakes do not have to be the final chapter of our lives. We can reinvent ourselves, find new purpose, and use our past pain to help others. This is the true meaning of resilience. It's not about never falling. It's about how we get back up. Mike's journey from the ring to the stage is a testament to the human capacity for evolution. He showed us that it's never too late to become the person you were meant to be. Redemption requires honesty, humility, and the courage to face your own reflection without flinching. Universal lessons. Mike Tyson's life is a mirror of human struggle. He shows us that strength without wisdom is dangerous. We see this in his early career, where his physical dominance was not matched by emotional maturity. He shows us that discipline can turn chaos into success, as seen in his rise from the streets of Brownsville. He shows us that mistakes are not the end. They are lessons, provided we are willing to learn from them. And most importantly, he shows us that redemption is always within reach. His journey reminds us that life is not about being perfect. It's about learning, growing, and fighting for a better version of ourselves. We all face our own heavyweights in life: fear, addiction, loss, or failure. Tyson's story gives us a roadmap for how to face those opponents. It tells us that we must be disciplined in our pursuits, humble in our successes, and courageous in our failures. It reminds us that the most important fight we will ever have is the one within ourselves. Think about your own life. Where are you in your journey? Are you in the early life phase, searching for your purpose? Are you in the rise to fame, experiencing success but perhaps losing your way? Or are you in a fall, feeling the weight of your mistakes? Wherever you are, Mike Tyson's story offers hope. It says that the fight isn't over until you stop getting up. It says that your scars are not signs of weakness, but badges of survival. It encourages us to look at our lives with the same honesty that Mike now looks at his. Closing, Mike Tyson once said, "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Life will hit us hard. It will throw us curveballs we didn't see coming. It will knock us down when we think we are at our strongest. But what matters is not the punch, it's how we respond." Tyson's story is proof that even the hardest blows can become the foundation for growth. He went from being a champion of the world to being a champion of his own life. So, when life challenges you, remember, you are stronger than you think, wiser than you know, and capable of rising again. Just like Mike Tyson, don't let your past define you, and don't let your fears stop you. Keep moving forward, keep learning, and keep fighting. The ring of life is wide, and there is always room for a comeback. As we conclude this reflection on the life of Iron Mike, take a moment to think about one lesson you can apply to your own life today. Is it the need for more discipline, the courage to seek redemption, or the humility to admit a mistake? Whatever it is, carry it with you. Life is a fight, yes, but it's also a beautiful opportunity to grow. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the life of a man who showed us what it truly means to be a fighter. Until next time, keep your head up and your heart open.